for shared creative play. That's Forts, now through April 5th at Children's Theater Company. Tickets at childrenstheater.org. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter. Welcome to The Gaily Show, the only daily LGBTQ news and talk show on the radio in the United States. I am your host, John Parker, in studio with my executive producer, Jim Pounds.
Hey, all.
All right, also live streaming on our YouTube channel right now. And if you like what you're seeing, click that subscribe button. Leave us a comment about how you're enjoying the show and also stories that you'd like to see us covering in 2026. I can't believe that we're already in mid-February. So what is on the show today? In the second half hour of the show, at the bottom of the hour, Keir Whiting from Theater and the Round's upcoming production of Cake will be our guest. In a minute, we're going to get into the economic costs of Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago and Operation Metro Surge in Minnesota, some eye-popping numbers. But up first, the passing of Jesse Jackson, which is heartbreaking. Our condolences to Santita Jackson, who is the host of the morning program here on AM 950 radio. And I just thought we'd take a couple minutes to talk about this. I mean, he was a huge progressive icon, frankly, in the movement, specifically in the 1980s, and in a moment when it kind of felt like, no, I was a kid, so I'm just gonna be mindful of that.
I was gonna say,
as coming of age and learning about what I was actually living through in the 1980s. It's sort of a not all hope is lost moment, but it was the Reagan era, and it really kind of felt like the Democratic Party, progressives were on the back foot, and there he was with his coalition and his fight against the Reagan administration, and he was an icon. Frankly, is the simplest way of putting it.
In Northwest Lower Michigan, did you learn about Jesse Jackson, or did they act like he didn't even exist?
I was a fan of presidential politics from a very, very young age. So I went out and found the information. But that was at a time when debates were, on broadcast television.
Yes.
And it was must-see TV. So it was kind of hard if you were into presidential politics and watching any of the debates to not see the actual candidates.
Right.
So,
well, and my remembrance is of the Rainbow Coalition, which, there was a stripe, as we talk about now, the stripes and the rainbow flag, but in the Rainbow Coalition of Jesse Jackson, there was there was a stripe there was inclusion of LGBT people, not called that in those days, but I'm sure it was called homosexuals. But I still I remember thinking, boy, I don't remember anybody ever, at least not filtering into my brain, that we were sort of welcome anywhere. And I thought that was kind of revolutionary. I'm sure other people were involved, and I'm sure it came up more before that, but I remember that distinctly.
Well, I like that word that you're using, remembrances. And if you're listening right now, 952-946-6205. What is a remembrance that you have of Jesse Jackson? 952-946-6205. I'd love to hear from you, particularly Minnesotans right now, because we've seen a similar type of organizing here happening in Minnesota, definitely over the past 70 plus days because of Operation Metro Surge. But I think something that he is famous for is that coalition of progressive whites, queer communities, environmentalists, labor unions, Black, African, and African-American community, Asian Americans, indigenous nations, Latino, anti-war activists.
Yep.
And did I say unions already? I'm sorry, I'm just kind of off the top of my head, unions.
Yeah.
And so that was something that was really important, and I think was also kind of the crux of what we saw here in Minnesota in the fight against the Trump administration, and the most visible and I would say the most successful fight against the administration so far. But also was in discussions with leaders across the country about a national black-backed progressive movement that could be a viable pathway, not just to the presidential nomination for the Democratic Party, but also just for how we practice politics in the United States.
Well, in our own community, we still have people trying to divide us from ourselves over issues like trans issues, which we keep saying. I know you agree with this, John. That if we stand together, we are powerful, and if we allow them to divide us over some thing about Muslims or whatever dividing thing they want to try to throw out there, immigration or all these boogeymen that they create, we're weaker. But Jesse Jackson saw strength, and he spoke to that unabashedly. I thought he had more bravery than a lot of traditional Democratic politicians did.
Well, so much of his work was not just informed by the right and the conservatives and the far right in this country, but also the Democratic Party. That people's platform, increased corporate taxes, decreased military spending, single payer universal health care, fair wages. I mean, on and on and on. The people's platform is something that we continue to model and fight for in this country.
There's a lot of people who, like Gavin Newsom, who don't believe in all parts of that platform. There's a lot of corporate Democrats. There were Democrats, the guy from Texas, whose name I can't remember, who wouldn't support abortion rights. So we can screw our own pooch, if you'll excuse the expression, or we can get all on the same train and see a much better tomorrow, a radically different tomorrow, I think. And the oppression we're undergoing now is the pressure cooker that's going to cook our anger to the point where we are going to, I believe, and I think you believe too, John, we're going to see this thing break out in a shocking way for the right wing, in a terrible way for the right wing, when we get enough of this castor oil they're making us take. We're going to break out, I think, soon. Well, we are already doing that.
Here's hoping.
Like,
I don't want to take away from the fantastic and necessary resistance that Chicago had and Los Angeles had to ICE and to the Trump administration and DC, right, as well. I don't want to take away from that, but I feel like the scope was exponentially larger here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And, like we talked to Jose Avillar yesterday from Anijos, Minnesota. I mean, there were folks that were organizing on the ground day one after the election, recognizing that they were coming for Minnesota. And we just had this coalition, and we were able to drive out 75,000 people in sub-zero temperatures. And so I think that, again, I don't want to take away from the excellent work that was done, and some of which we mirrored from Chicago, that we saw Chicago was doing, and we're like, we need to do that here. But it was just, it was a strike across the bow, I think, and we are leading the way, and I hope that we're doing that in coalition as well here. And Jesse Jackson's coalition was just so pivotal, and so many things that we could learn from that time period.
Right.
It's really sad to know that we lost him today.
Well, and that his coalition, he was able to give voice to it. When I think of our coalition, I do not think of someone. I know you believe Mamdani might be that, but I feel like, who is that figure who can get everybody on a national level excited for democratic socialism, or whatever we call it?
It is weird.
Who is that?
We were talking about that last spring.
It's not Chuck Schumer.
I remember this conversation we were having. No, it's just there's such the moment is ripe. It's there for someone to come in and say, I am going to be the person. You're going to coalesce around me. And it is really still a year on. It is weird to me that nobody has really stepped into that void. to say, I'm going to be the one that's going to step up here. You know, we've seen it in very geographically confined, like electorally confined places. Mamdani, I think, is amazing, but he's really limited himself, obviously, to New York City, even though he's been catapulted as a national figure. I think Newsom wanted to be that, and he tried to grab that microphone, and then he utterly failed at it in terms of betraying the queer community and throwing a number of other people under the bus when it came to his budget last spring. And so, you know, I think there are still folks that are on his train, but there was also a lot of flags that were raised, you know, around him. I don't, you know, Governor Pritzker, I think, is keeping his name in the headlines, but no one has really run and grabbed the mantle of leadership and said, I am going to be the person. You know, we don't have our, you know, we have lots of folks that were, you know, leading faith leaders that were leading here, you know, against ICE and leading the protests against Target. But again, no one at that national level has really stepped up in a way that, you know, Reverend Jesse Jackson did. And
so that's the thing that we're maybe mourning also about Reverend Jackson's passing, is that there isn't that, but we better find it pretty quick. You know, spring's a coming.
And I know
we better get moving.
There's a gap of time between, you know, 1984, 1988, and 2008 when President Obama was nominated. But how do you have President Obama without Reverend Jesse Jackson in the 80s? I mean, I just don't see, you know, how those,
but even
the
Obama,
groundwork that was laid.
But even Obama, in my opinion, was in many ways, you know, an apologist for the big banks, an apologist for the oil companies, an apologist.
I'm not getting into the policies of it. I'm just saying, how do you, you know, to have a black president in 2008, I don't think could have happened without Reverend Jesse Jackson. I completely
agree. And I want Obama, the last, you know, really great president we had, or really good president we had, to birth the next generation that's better. You know, God bless him, God bless Joe Biden, whatever they've tried, but we got to do much better, because now we're not just fighting Republicans, we're fighting billionaires who have all the cards. You know, they're playing.
We're fighting Doug Wilson in Moscow, Idaho, leader of Christian nationalism.
That's another, but that's like one of their cards that the billionaires are playing. They have the media card, they have all the religious people not thinking for themselves, they have all the money, you know. They have every card. We have to take those cards away from them.
They don't have every card. All right. You are listening to The Gailey Show. When we come back, we're going to look at some of the eye-popping numbers of the impact of Operation Midway, Blitz in Chicago, and Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis. You are listening to The Gailey Show.
Uncover the rich history of Minnesota through Whoosh, a lively and deeply moving ghost tale. Solo artist Andrew Erskine Wheeler masterfully brings to life a range of characters, intertwining the rich history of St. Anthony Falls in the post-Civil War era with the story of its Irish heritage. This award-winning show weaves a hauntingly local and unforgettable ghost story through compelling song and storytelling. The History Theater's Whoosh plays January 29th through February 22nd. Find tickets at historytheater.com.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, our job is to help you find a place for fire. Our displays include over 180 models in diverse styles, and we have over 35 burning displays. Come and experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Some say there are only two seasons in Minnesota: road construction and winter. Hi, this is Laura, and I agree there are two seasons in Minnesota: summer and fireplace season. I bought my wood stove for Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces in 2005, and every season after summer comes the time when we fire up the wood stove, get out our favorite music, and discover the warmth of fire. Our dog Pumpkin remembers the fire too. He stations himself right there, legs up in the air, just enjoying the warmth of the fire. With the wood stove, we are able to keep the main area of the house toasty warm, while the thermostat is set at an energy-efficient 64 degrees. Discover your fireplace season. Visit Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces today.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Hey, Francois, have you made any New Year's resolutions?
Non.
Well, mine is to learn some French. Can you help me?
Bien sûr.
How do you say this? Can I buy you?
Est-ce que je peux t'acheter
Macaroons from Nicolette's.
des macarons de Nicolette?
Now, say it all at once.
Est-ce que je peux t'acheter des macarons de Nicolettes?
Oh, absolutely. I'll have a box of raspberry rose, blueberry cheesecake, and chocolate.
Mais c'est quoi ça?
Thank you, Francois. You can order them online at nicoletsmacaroons.com or visit their store in Plymouth. Merci.
Hey, this is Andy Otto, Executive Director of Twin Cities Pride and your host of Twin Cities Pride Amplified. Our community needs your help. Twin Cities Pride is collecting donations to help our local community in need. We're collecting everything from shelf-stable food to household cleaning supplies, infant care items, and personal care products at our Pride Cultural Arts Center. If you're looking to help, reach out to us at info@tcpride.org or just stop by 1201 Harmon Place in Minneapolis. It's our time to take care of our community and take care of each other all year long.
Hi, this is Frank Brown with Minuteman Press Uptown. It's election season. If you're campaigning for a candidate, your outreach needs top quality union printed materials, from direct mail and yard signs to door hangers, buttons, t-shirts, and flyers. Minuteman Uptown is your union shop to get people to the polls. We print everything. We'll keep your candidate top of mind, target your message with a laser focus, and maximize your voter turnout efforts. Get started today at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I am John Parker. We are coming up on the bottom of the hour, joined in studio by my executive producer, Jim Pounds. All right, there are some pretty eye-popping numbers when we start to look at the economic impacts of both Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago and then turning here to Minnesota. So I was looking at some numbers that were released by Governor Pritzker's office. This is just Chicago's Little Village neighborhood. Collectively generates $1 billion in annual sales. However, a lot of businesses in there are saying they are experiencing year-over-year revenue drops of up to 50%. 50%. The labor participation rate in the restaurant sector, construction sector, hospitality sector, landscaping sector have plummeted. Thousands of workers no longer participating in those sectors. It is, and then according to Senator Dick Durbin's office, just the 60-day deployment cost $19.4 million in terms of the National Guard, right? So that was $323,000 a day that actually never happened, right? Because the courts blocked the use of the National Guard in Chicago. They still spent just under $20 million. The attendance rates at 38 of Chicago's 77 neighborhoods had drops of about 40%. It was just, I mean, these numbers are huge here that we're looking at. And also, I want to point out, this was an article that just came out from Block Club Chicago last Friday. And in the Southwest side, Latino-owned businesses are still saying that the numbers are low. Lower revenue, less foot traffic is still happening there. This is months afterwards. And I think this is something that we are now looking to here in Minneapolis and St. Paul and Minnesota, is West 7th, if you know, Lake Street, where they're saying that there are still ICE agents, there's still Custom and Border Patrols, there are still raids happening. And so people are not going out to these places, to these businesses. And it is a long-lasting impact that's happening in these business corridors in Chicago. Even if there is a report of somebody, like, you know, not even confirmed, but there's this idea that, hey, there's someone there. Social media sales plummet. I'm sorry, if there's a alert on social media, sales plummet for the day. There was one store here that was said that they're a cell phone store, so they sell cell phones and they sell, you know, accessories, and they went for 2 weeks without a sale.
Yeah.
2 weeks without a single sale.
Right. Well, this this process has done inestimable damage to small businesses in 8 states. I mean, if you can imagine, small businesses are the backbone of business in this country, whether Ding Dong thinks so or not. And he's done irreparable damage, I think, to small businesses. So,
well, here in Minneapolis, this is just Minneapolis data. They put this out. The mayor's office put this out on Friday. The data and statistics are for 1 month, unless they otherwise note these numbers. All right. So financial losses to workers and businesses: $47 million in lost wages, $81 million in lost restaurant and small business revenue. Rental assistance: 35,000 low-income renter households were unable to afford rent. Thousands of them receiving eviction notices now in February. $15.7 million additional rent assistance needed due to lost household income since December of 2025. 76,000 people experiencing food insecurity.
Well, and as you say, because the inference from the bag man is that they're going to stick around, some of them, and they've stayed in these other places, it puts kind of a permanent depression on the city. It's like they've left a stink there that's going to harm business for, I don't know, the foreseeable.
We've seen, I believe, enough reporting that we've found on this show from other media outlets that the point of what they're doing here is to terrorize people, right? When you have a U.S. official telling the United States Foreign Services Committee that the reason why they're doing third country deportations is to scare people, right? When you have Christian nationalist pastors looking at you, Doug Wilson in Moscow, Idaho, and others that are on the YouTube who are bragging about this 1.5 million number. We've had 1.5 million people self-deport because of the actions of Operation Metro Surge. Okay, first of all, how are you even accounting for that number?
Yeah. How do you
but the point is, how do you create, how do you terrorize a population to get people to self-deport, right? So the violence is the point.
Right.
And I think that this is where, when they're telling us, DHS, oh, you need to reopen our agency, you need to refund us so that we can, because look, we're leaving Minnesota, so give us our money back, reopen the agency. I think that's, well, wait a minute, no, because you're leaving behind hundreds. We don't know the official number because you won't tell us what the official number is. You've told us that 2,000 have left and a few hundred more are leaving this week. So, okay, there was 3,000 that were here, so we still have a few hundred that are left over per your numbers you're giving us, Tom Holman. But if you're still going to have them going around raiding businesses on West 7th, that corridor, raiding businesses on Lake Street, you're continuing this economic terror. 99.7% of businesses in Minnesota are small businesses. They have borne the brunt of this for 70 plus days. So he is deliberately harming the economies of cities that he doesn't like and states that he doesn't like. Los Angeles, Chicago, now Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I don't want to just say Minneapolis, St. Paul, because when you look at the numbers, it is throughout the state. It's called Operation Metro Surge, but in reality, we should be calling it Operation Minnesota Surge, because they came surging in throughout the entire state they were operating. So this is something, when we're hearing, and I know that this buy local and go out and shop and all these things, like, people kind of go, we need larger systemic issues. And hopefully we will have larger systemic issues now that the legislature is back. But we do need to find ways to get out and support these small businesses, because as we're seeing from Chicago, the economic effects are lingering far past the departure of agents from Operation Midway Blitz. All right, you are listening to The Gailey Show. We have a very special guest from Theater on the Rounds, Cake, which opens this weekend when we come back. Keep it here to AM 950 Radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hello, Minnesota. This is Tom Hartman, and you can
We can just go back to the commercials.
Offers made from scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts.
So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
While I'm pregnant, I can keep our baby safe by not drinking, smoking, or using drugs. But how are we going to keep her safe after she's born?
When I grow up, I look forward to dancing in powwows, going to college, and being successful. But I don't want to be one out of 3 American Indian women to be raped or sexually assaulted in her lifetime.
As relatives and friends of Native women, it is our responsibility to stand up and speak out for every woman's right to be safe in her home and the community.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
It's no secret that medical care costs are soaring, with nursing home and skilled nursing care costs being some of the highest. You don't have to deplete your savings in order to receive long-term care. At Schroman Law, we work with families to develop and implement strategic planning for medical assistance for long-term care, for assisted living, nursing home care, or home-based care. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. And you're just in time for Zero Res's post-Valentine's Day flash sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a 4th room free. But you have to book by February 20th. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 52, tonight rain with a low around 38, and Wednesday cloudy with a high around 42. The bakery at Cafe Latte features legendary cakes, cupcakes, and fresh-baked breads crafted with real ingredients. You won't find artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives at Cafe Latte, just pure quality. Whether it's a sweet treat or a gourmet meal, head to Victoria and Grand for Cafe Latte. More at cafelatte.com.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show, coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter. It is 33 minutes after the hour. I am your host, John Parker. Jim Pounds, executive producer, is here with me in the studio. All right, this weekend, Theater in the Rounds production of Cake will be opening. Joining us from the cast now is Keir Whiting. Hello, Keir. Welcome to the Gailey Show. I hope I got your name pronunciation right.
Yes. Hello. Yeah, you did.
Hey, perfect. Keir, I also want to say you directed one of my favorite shows from 2025, Triassic Park. So thank you for that production. It was absolutely delightful. And so tell us about Cake. You are in the cast of Cake. So tell us, what can audience members expect when they show up on opening weekend?
Yeah. Well, so Cake is a smaller cast, 5-person show that really it dives into topics that sort of affect everyone, as far as every single one of these characters are fully 3-dimensional. They're realistically written and absolutely recognizable as people that we could know and probably do know people that are similar. And they're all struggling with either current systems of belief that they are sort of hitting a wall with it. is acceptance okay, or is inclusion better? And they're also struggling with past belief systems if they've, moved and grown through those. And the general struggle, the plot of the show is about a woman named Della, who is a baker, who makes these wonderful, beautiful cakes. She has some just deep-seated Southern Christian beliefs, and her best friend's daughter comes back to town, her best friend having died. The best friend's daughter comes back to town, is going to get married, and wants her godmother, is what we're calling her, just as a shorthand. She wants Della to make her wedding cake for her. And Della is excited for this because she's been making cakes for her, for the woman's name is, the two couples getting married are a lesbian couple, and Della is unaware of this, and is, I'm going to make your cake, and then finds out, and then is like, oh, I can't make your cake now because of my beliefs. And so that is the main struggle for our main character, is how do I get over this? Am I really bigoted if I can't make this cake, but I can still support her? And meanwhile, the other characters are all having their own personal struggles with themselves and their belief systems. But there's a lot of comedy in it too. It's not just, there's a lot of comedy in it.
It is a comedy. I mean, just so people don't worry that it's going to be, maudlin somehow. It is a comedy. I don't know if it's a laugh out loud comedy or giggle to yourself comedy, but it is a comedy.
Yes, there are elements of, well, depending upon what kind of laugher you are, right? But there's definitely laugh out loud moments in it, and a lot of internal chuckling. There's both, especially because it's one of those ones where when you read just, this is the plot synopsis, you're like, oh, okay, right. Sure, we know where this is going. Right. But the thing, when I read the script, and what intrigued me about the script is that it's very realistic, and you just don't, like, you're always wondering if it's going to get resolved, or if it's not, but yet then something absolutely hysterical happens. Right. And it's definitely layered in there, layered like a cake. But where it's not just about the news article of about somebody's not making a cake.
But it's not a rom-com where the ending in the first scene, right? It's not
correct. Yeah, it's nothing is just immediately given away.
Right. Now, did you say Jenny Ward was the director of the show? It's interesting because I know at Theater in the Round, I've done 11 shows there, and I know that the board or the play reading committee or whatever, they sort of recommend the season and how that all comes about, and then they select the director that they think would be the best to go with it. Does Jenny bring something that you find compelling to this material?
Yeah, I found that what was most compelling about Jenny's concept of directing this show is being open to trying new and unusual things with the show, instead of making it be extremely realistic. So and I mean that's also part of the round, is like you can't really have a full realistic set when you're in the round, but it's like how she's managing how she wants to have the people use the space, and discussions with the designers of how are we going to do this in a space where we can't have massive set changes, or all of those things. And also just the particularly for the character that I play, which I don't want to really give much away about that character, because he's not a human. And a lot of times he is.
And when you say he's not a human,
no.
Leave him alone. He's trying to keep some mystery.
Yeah,
we just accept that you're not a human. You don't have to explain anything.
Yeah, well, he has an offstage voice, in so much that only the lead character Della hears this voice, and it is something that represents her desires, her fears, her anxieties, and it's the verbalization of what's going on in her brain. And a lot of times it is just either a voice recording or someone backstage. And the thing that made me interested in doing this production was I asked Jenny, I was like, are you going to put him on stage? Because you really can, especially in the round. And she said, absolutely. Yeah. So, and then my weird ideas of what to do with the character, she was also open to listening to. So I get to have a lot of fun.
We are talking with Keira Whiting from Theater in the Round's upcoming production of Cake, which upcoming this weekend. You can get your tickets at theaterintheround.org. Keira, I don't suppose you all are serving wedding cake at the production.
I know nothing about concessions. I'm not at liberty to disclose anything about concessions because I don't know anything about concessions.
So, I mean, who knew that wedding cakes would become such a huge, fraught battleground for, queer couples in the 21st century? I'm curious, in doing the production and having it being, teasing out that comedy elements of it, were there things that surprised you about what you learned about this whole situation that we all seem to find ourselves in as it relates to marriage equality?
While working on the play, not too much, came about new. There's just so much, I think, going on with the other horrors that have been happening that were really more in a lot of our minds about discussing and how that could possibly affect, some of the staging and some of what we wanted to do costume wise and things like that. But yeah, it is an unusual thing that something as simple as a cake. It's like you're just making a cake, but for some people it is, who am I supporting and where am I going? And
for some
as someone
their Magna Carta.
Yeah, and as someone who if there is a joke in the script. I don't think this is giving any sort of plot point away, but Chick-fil-A, is mentioned in the play, and in the whole should we eat there? It's almost like a similar. I can't make the cake for you, but now should we eat there? And it's how simple things can become political or culturally relevant at different times, and I think that it's always in flux.
Yes, it is in flux. I do want to. This is not related to Cake, but is there going to be a Triassic Park sequel?
Oh no!
just the lost world.
I don't know
so much.
I don't know if that writing team it would be doing that. The people who wrote that, but yeah, no, that was definitely a delight. Of I directed a couple queer shows last year, and so it was so much fun that one was the one that started out the year for me and was just a queer celebration of love before I went into directing a show that was more of a historical realism show later.
I love the fact that TRP, for people that have never been there, you've never had that experience before. If you've never seen a show in the round, it is, whatever you think about theater, this is a completely different experience. Your perspective, your distance, the lighting, what you see, your sense of involvement in it is so unique. The blocking, everything is so one of a kind, in my opinion. This isn't like a thrust stage. We're not kidding here. I mean, this is literally in the round, and people enter through VOMs and all that. And it's so engaging. And I hope that people go see it just for the experience of seeing a show in the round, because you've got to do that once in your life, in my opinion.
Meaning that the audience goes all the way around.
Yeah, the audience surrounds entirely the play,
for us
the world of the play.
Non-theater folk who are like, what do you mean in the round?
Right. So I'm a big
Yeah,
advocate of that experience.
It's definitely one of personally when I'm acting, I prefer the challenge because it's a whole different style of how you move your body, and you can't stay in one place for long, and you have to turn around and make a reason to turn around in times. And I love acting either in the round or the thrust, or sometimes like the rectangle or whatever the shape is, where the audience isn't just flat in front of you, because it feels more alive too, and you're more prone to, like, I don't know, mess up too, because they're right there. And also, I mean, it's a totally different as far as directing is different in it. Sets are different, props, everything. You can't hide anything either.
I did a production of A Delicate Balance there, and I don't drink, but I was supposedly mixing drinks at the bar, and I knew they were all sitting there saying, well, he's put too much vermouth in that, or what is he? What a moron.
People right in front of you like, oh,
literally
no one likes vermouth. Why are you doing that?
What did we do that?
What a
for
fool. Yeah, it was, I had to learn alcohol.
I've got just a couple minutes here. For queer folks, the theater is a very magical place where we can come together, sort through some things, but also it's a transformational moment. So I'm curious, Kier, what are you hoping to see this year in the theater for how we can, build community, not just for queer folks, but with allies as well?
I think as approaching shows either as an audience member or as a maker of art, I think when we're trying to bring queer shows and the allies together, it definitely has to be space for both. I think, for example, this type of play which is something I like to call queer plays for straight people, because it's definitely it's definitely centric on a straight cis person's experience having to be work outside of their comfort level, and allies can come see this play and not be threatened by what they're going to see. But then it also does that. Why would queer people come see it? So you also have to be like, so
I have
why
to interrupt you there. Sorry, I've got a hard break here. The show is Cake opens this weekend. For tickets and more information, head to theaterintheround.org. Kier, thank you so much for joining us today. Break a leg.
Yes, thank you. Weekend. Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Celebrate Valentine's with the perfect musical. The Chameleon Theater Circle is proud to present I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Bright, sexy, witty, and fun, this show will appeal to anyone who has ever fallen into the deep end of love and come up gasping for air. Shows run 3 weekends starting February 13th at Inver Hills Community College. Just Google Chameleon Theater to see times and reserve tickets. I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change with the Chameleon Theater Circle. Get your tickets now.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. To avoid gimmicks, call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Maybe you've been procrastinating on the holiday post-mortem cleanup at your house. Are you worried if you got down on your hands and knees what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the largest air filter in your home. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing this nasty stuff for months. And you're just in time for Zero Res's post-Valentine's Day flash sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a 4th room free. But you have to book by February 20th. Call my friends at Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. A 4.9 rating on Google reviews and over 21,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Get ready to zoom into a world full of color, música, and alegría at Children's Theater Company. Go Dog Go, Ve Pero Ve is a bilingual musical bursting with playful, high-speed energy as dogs drive, swim, and race to the big dog party. This joyful espectáculo blends English y Espanol with expressive physical storytelling. Go Dog Go is sure to have you laughing, moving, and howling with delight. On stage January 20th through February 22nd. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
And we're back.
I almost took over the show.
Seriously, I was I was engrossed in this next story that we're going to talk about. But before we do, I'm told that I have some tickets to give away.
Yes, please.
Ooh,
we're going to do
a pair of tickets.
I Love You, You're Perfect Now Change Again. And I had misspoken the other day. We did give them away, but the performances this week are Thursday and Friday. So you have to make a choice between Thursday or Friday. Inver Hills Community College, I Love You, You're Perfect Now Change, small cast musical. I guarantee you will love it. It's contemporary and it's seasonally
Jim
appropriate.
Pounds guarantee.
Well,
and since it's a pair of free tickets, you can't get your money back. But I do want to give them away because it's nice that we're given things by our friends to give to you listening at home or watching on YouTube. So if you want to call in to get the next caller, first caller gets a pair of free tickets to I Love You, You're Perfect Now Change, 952 946-6205, 952-946-6205. Want to give those away. I've only got a few minutes left before we're off the air. So you better call in now, 952-946-6205. Okay, so CBS News. I'm a media guy, so always kind of checking in there. And there's a couple of big stories coming out of CBS News. First of all, I mean, if you haven't heard, Barry Weiss is basically doing everything she can to turn CBS News into a MAGA-y
flaming trash pile,
location. And Anderson Cooper now has said that he's out. He is leaving.
Anderson.
He's citing family obligations for leaving CBS News. But there were reports from like Puck News that Weiss was interested in making him a full-time correspondent, essentially stealing him away from CNN or making him the evening news program. She wants to, blah, blah, blah. And that's interesting to me because, at the same time they are, CBS was going after Stephen Colbert for having the audacity to want to interview a U.S. Senate candidate.
Right.
That's just
well, and we have a CBS O&O in this market, and I know Chicago does as well. And that it's become a flaming cesspool is just really sad. The former Tiffany network is now basically a swamp that you don't want to get anywhere near. So I think a lot of people that have any legitimacy in the news business are going to get out of there.
So for folks who are like, what? Stephen Colbert did an interview with James Tallarico, who is currently a representative in the Texas legislature, and he's trying to become get the Democratic nomination to run against John Cornyn this fall, or either the other guy, Ken Paxton, one of the two.
No, it's Cornyn. Oh,
well, Paxton is running in the primary.
You're saying they're both? Yeah, because Cornyn's not returning. He's leaving.
Oh, the Guardian is saying that challenged the Republican incumbent John Cornyn for Senate seat.
Oh, I thought he was.
So the Guardian may be mistaken. It
That's
wouldn't be the
interesting.
first time.
Well,
Guardian.
no,
Anyway,
but it is Cornyn's seat.
So he was. The point of this story is that Stephen Colbert was going to do the interview with Tellerico, and then the CBS pulled it because the Federal Communications Commission told them to.
Yeah. The nonpartisan FCC.
So, and Stephen Colbert said, quote, "Let's just call this what it is. Donald Trump's administration wants to silence anyone who says anything bad about Trump on TV because all Trump does is watch TV."
Yep.
The interview went forward anyway and was posted to Colbert's YouTube page.
I saw it on Facebook, so it was also.
It's just, it is. The fact that CBS is going along with this, that they are literally allowing Barry Weiss and CBS. I mean, they're not far right, but they are at the behest now of the Trump administration, and they're making content decisions based off of what the FCC is going to say here, and they have so much money to fight something like this.
Right.
So much money.
Right.
That's the thing that keeps getting me after a year and 1 month of this administration is people who have so much money to fight in court. And you can see Trump weaponize the court system. I mean, he never even got to trial on some of these things, with the exception of the case in New York. The other ones, the federal cases, I mean, he just kept stalling and putting them off. The Georgia case, stalling and putting them off and stalling and stalling and stalling. CBS, these colleges and universities that have $24 billion endowments, they could have done the same thing in court. Stall, get things to go on, indefinitely until you can get out of it, right? Or pay a settlement or whatever.
Yep.
And so for CBS, and of course, this is, look at Barry Weiss, CBS News, and all of this stuff. They're perfectly fine having the FCC call them up and say, nix this interview. What do they care?
Right. Well, they're very thin-skinned. The very sensitive MAGA people are very thin-skinned. They think we're bad. Oh, my God.
Earlier this year, the FCC, under Brendan Carr, opened an investigation into the ABC show The View, which also interviewed Tellerico. So apparently they just don't like that guy.
Well, they're worried about Texas. I think they are a little worried about Texas. Again, I said send Bambino down there and have him rough some people up in Texas, and they would lose Texas. And I think they know it. I think people are that close. The right, some of the people on the right are that close to saying this whole thing has made fools out of us, and they are angry about it. And I think they know it. South Carolina, they know it too. Now, I don't know if it'll change the outcome, but I think they're going to be really on thin ice in a lot of places as this year goes on. So shame on CBS.
The people who could fight back are not fighting back, which is why it is the people who will do that if we learn anything from Reverend Jesse Jackson. That is all for us today. Up next in Chicago on WCPT 820, it is Democracy Now! In Minneapolis, it is the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. And then at 10 p.m. Central, Step Into the Unknown with Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio. And until this time, tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.